Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a fascinating set of sources. They discuss powerful transformations, really profound energetic shifts, and there's even this surprising story of a failed earthquake that, well, defied all expectations. What makes this material particularly interesting is its origin. It apparently comes from what the sources call the Pleiadian Emissary Group, described as a collective of advanced beings offering guidance. So our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack what these sources claim truly happened, why it happened, and what these shifts might mean for you, for your own experience, and the world around us. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, it's fascinating because the sources jump right in, highlighting that we're supposedly in a period of energies and powerful transformations. They actually describe it as presenting the greatest opportunity for change we've ever experienced. They really emphasize that multiple factors are converging, paving the way for both personal and collective evolution.
That's a really significant way to frame it, isn't it? Everything hinges on this huge opportunity. And it does resonate, I think, with what maybe some of us are feeling, this sense of entering and exiting different frequency realms. The sources talk about feeling, euphoria one moment, then this kind of unsettling confusion or disconnection the next, almost like tuning in and out of different energetic channels, right?
Yeah.
So for navigating these shifts,
what do they suggest? How do you get back to that higher place, according to them, when you feel disconnected?
they're pretty clear on that. The key, they say, lies in maintaining a stable inner frequency, which means practically slowing down, doing more meditation, more heart-centered presence. And crucially, they stress not letting external chaos dictate your inner state, your inner vibration. When we connect this to the bigger picture, the sources also predict, interestingly, an increase in extraordinary phenomena. Things like sightings of celestial ships, which they claim will become more common. They see this will awaken a deep inner emotion and signal a kind of grand return of souls. Wow, that definitely points towards a pretty dramatic shift in how we perceive reality. But what really grabbed my attention in these readings was a very specific, sort of tangible example they gave of these shifts actually playing out. They talk about how even the plans of those who cling to the old shadows are faltering. And they give this really striking example, reference what they call a failed earthquake in Russia. Can you walk us through what the sources actually say happened there?
Absolutely. So the sources describe a magnitude 8 earthquake near Russia. And according to them, the Black Cabal, which they identify as this hidden sort of malevolent power structure, well, they expected it to cause immense destruction. It was a subsea earthquake, and it triggered tsunami alerts across the Pacific. Evacuations happened in places as far away as Japan and Hawaii. Early projections, the sources note, had scientists really fearing a devastating wall of water. Initial models apparently even suggested waves up to 3 meters in some areas. And that collective memory of the 2011 tsunami in Japan was understandably very present.
Okay, so it sounds like it had all the hallmarks of a truly catastrophic event. Every indicator pointed to a major disaster brewing. But then, the sources suggest something quite unexpected happened instead.
Precisely. The sources state that, quote, surprisingly, the disaster everyone expected did not materialize that night. Japan, Hawaii, Russia, they all downgraded most of their tsunami alerts. Why? Because the waves that actually arrived were far smaller than predicted, maybe only 1 to 1.5 meters in Hawaii and Japan. Significant, yes, but far from the feared cataclysm. As one tourist in Hawaii apparently observed, the disaster we expected didn't happen.
That's remarkable. Now, a conventional science would probably attribute that outcome to geological factors, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the specific fault lines or the shape of the ocean floor, something physical. But these sources offer a dramatically different explanation, don't they? Why, according to them, did this potential disaster just fizzle out?
Well, they do acknowledge that conventional science's geological reasons are valid on the physical level. They don't dismiss that. However, they strongly assert that behind the spiritual forces of light were undoubtedly at play. And what's really compelling here is their claim that a newly anchored high-frequency energy in the Earth's field dissolved much of the destructive energy. In more spiritual terms, they attribute it to the Christ heart frequency now emanating through the planet's grids, which they say acted like a kind of protective balm, calming the waters. This implies, in their view, that the whole balance has shifted, and that the Earth itself, protected by a higher light, will no longer permit the level of devastation that they claim dark beings once wielded. So essentially, they're describing a form of energetic intervention.
So not just geological luck, but an actual neutralization, a direct one. by these spiritual forces. It's almost like the Earth itself has gained a new kind of energetic shield, this Christ consciousness frequency you mentioned. It sounds absolutely pivotal to this shift. How do these sources describe it? What does it actually entail?
They describe it as a tremendous influx of Christ light, identifying it specifically as the Christ consciousness frequency and unconditional love that has just anchored into Earth's energetic field in a way never before seen. They explain it as an emanation of source energy, carrying the blueprint for divine love, for unity, coherence. To put it simply, maybe think of it as a powerful, newly established energetic current. A current of pure, unconditional love that's now flowing through the planet's own energetic system, its grids. Some spiritual visionaries, they add, even describe it quite cosmically, like a second sun or a cosmic source transmitting this frequency, transmitting from the galactic core, activating human DNA, and fully awakening the planet's heart chakra to pulsate with a higher cosmic rhythm.
That is a truly expansive vision. Second sun. Wow. And the sources make it clear this wasn't just like flipping a switch, right? It wasn't sudden. It was the result of a longer process.
No, not at all sudden. They clarify this was not achieved overnight, not by a long shot. Apparently, galactic allies and other benevolent beings have worked tirelessly for years to help elevate Earth's vibration. But crucially, they state that you, meaning us, humanity, through your own awakened bodies and hearts, were a crucial final component to grounding and integrating this light. So, by mid-2025, according to them, this high-frequency energy, which they also call the new 5D grid, or the Christ Consciousness Unity Grid, this new global energetic matrix of unity, is flowing through the planet's meridians in full force.
Okay, so if this energy is now here, flowing at full strength, what might that feel like for individuals on a personal level, and how does it connect to the broader changes we might be seeing beyond just, preventing tsunamis?
Well, for individuals, you might feel this newly anchored frequency as waves of love or bliss unexpectedly flooding you. That's how they put it. Or maybe an unshakable sense of peace, even when there's chaos around. It's described as a kind of living consciousness of divine purpose. And as you embody this light, you become its vehicle, radiating its wisdom and love. The sources do stress, though, this isn't about spiritual superiority or anything like that. It's simply the natural expression of one's soul's calling, apparently. The Christ frequency, they say, recognizes the sacredness in all life, with love as the ultimate foundation.
And what about those old shadows, the cabal they mentioned earlier? If this Christ light is supposedly so powerful, what does that mean for their ability to operate or influence things?
Yeah, that's a really important question they address. The sources assert that the experiment with extreme duality is coming to an end, and that Christ light is reclaiming dominion. That's quite a statement. They claim that these dark beings cannot comprehend or resist this level of coherence and divine order. So as the Christ light rises, the cabal's power, which they say is rooted in greed, fear, control, is diminishing rapidly, end quote. They get specific, too, mentioning that their physical technologies and financial resources have been drastically reduced because their supply lines and illicit networks are being cut at every moment, according to the sources.
They really do paint a picture of a collapsing infrastructure for these forces, don't they? Offering more specific examples beyond just the earthquake situation.
They do, yeah. Beyond the Russian earthquake, they detail how attempts at mass destruction fail. They also describe how supply lines and resources have been cut through what they term global efforts and international alliances. Things like dismantling trafficking networks, black market pipelines, illegal financial flows. For instance, they cite a major worldwide operation against human trafficking in mid-2005. Actually, I think the source meant mid-2002, 4 or 5. Maybe a typo there, but the point stands. That resulted in multiple arrests and identified over 1,000 victims, effectively disrupting crime networks. Additionally, they state that advanced technologies previously used by this alleged cabal, maybe for weather manipulation or mass mind control, have been neutralized or are out of their reach now.
That's quite a comprehensive breakdown of how these sources see the power dynamic shifting. And it's not just about physical stuff like infrastructure. They also claim that the old narratives, the old stories, are losing their grip on people.
Correct. The sources claim that narratives are no longer effective, or at least much less so. They observe that people are increasingly waking up, looking beyond the propaganda, questioning more. They state that every time the cabal tries to incite panic or division, it often backfires or has the opposite effect now, like people unite, question the story, or simply refuse to give their energy to fear. It's as though, in their words, the masks of illusion are falling, and what remains is the unshakable truth of our divine essence and unity.
So with all these really dramatic changes and these powerful energies apparently at play, What's the ultimate takeaway for listeners looking to navigate this new timeline of love and peace that the sources suggest is emerging?
I think the crucial message is that maintaining your personal frequency high is absolutely essential. Each of us, they say, has a vital role in consolidating the new timeline of love and peace. It's quite empowering. And to do this, they recommend living from the heart and staying aligned with your higher self. Practical steps they mention include daily centering, like meditation or prayer, allowing yourself to be loving, being useful to others, expressing gratitude. They basically say when you live from the heart, there's only love seeking to express itself through you.
Okay, so we've really explored how these powerful energies and the anchoring of this new high-frequency reality are, according to these sources, influencing global events, evidenced by their description of that surprising outcome with the Russian earthquake and potential tsunami. It's a really vivid illustration of how, in their view, the light is shifting the balance.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, the sources really suggest that the Earth itself is now actively protected by a higher light and this newly anchored Christ consciousness frequency. This implies a pretty fundamental shift in what is even possible on our planet, where threats like major tsunamis, they claim, are dissolved before they fully form by this new coherence. So this raises an important question for you, for all of us listening. How does understanding such an underlying energetic shift potentially change your perspective on seemingly random events? And what might it mean for your own capacity, your own potential to contribute to this evolving new timeline of love and peace and its unfolding?
That's a powerful thought to carry forward. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We really encourage you to continue exploring these profound ideas, maybe integrate some of the suggested practices into your daily life if they resonate. Until next time, keep diving deep.